welcome to the channel. This is a Halloween movie special. I'll probably do one of these every year. I'm just going to pick 5 films from a decade, and if you're struggling as something to watch this Halloween, there's a couple of suggestions for you. So obviously, as a child of the 80s, the whole video nasty kind of era was around me, and you could quite happily toddle down to the local newsagents and check out all kinds of unsuitable movies, which I did for a few years in the early 80s. But my love of all things horror really came probably from the Universal movies from the 30s and 40s. So whenever they'd show Frankenstein or things like that, I'd try and stay up and watch them. Invariably, a lot of these movies, when I was younger, I saw the first 5 minutes and then promptly fell asleep because I was on really late at night, and this was the days before video recorders. So the TV in the UK in the 70s was all, 3 channels. That was all you had, and the Hammer horror films, and this is a nice little DVD set, were always shown, and they'd invariably on around 11 o'clock at night, and ever they were on, I'd kind of plead the case to stay up and watch them. So most of these films I've seen 5 minutes of and nothing else since, but there are some good ones. There are some pretty rubbish ones, but this is a nice little set. It kind of all folds out, and it's got 14 films from the 1960s. So I thought I'd start with 60s horror, and next year I might do the 70s horror, which is when we get to the kind of golden era, don't we? And of course the 80s slasher films and all that. So I kind of like my horror more on the psychological front and the creepy front, as opposed to the all-out gore front. So from this Hammer collection, there's a couple of really good ones on here. Devil Rides Out, which is a Dennis Wheatley book that was adapted, where Christopher Lee plays the hero for once, which is most unusual. And this is a great one, Quatermass and the Pit. So a couple of really good early Hammer films, all in glorious colour, well worth checking out. But the one that's missing from that set, and probably my favourite Hammer horror picture, is this one. This is The Curse of the Werewolf, starring the late great Oliver Reed. He was a very good actor, actually, in his day. It's a shame he's kind of more renowned now for his lifestyle than his acting, but great little movie. Whenever that came on the TV, I always used to stay up and watch that one. An absolutely brilliant little film, and I think it holds up okay to this day. Now, as the 60s progressed, the horror got a little bit more, less schlocky and a little bit more serious. So you can't really talk about 60s horror without mentioning Night of the Living Dead, which is the black and white one that came out towards the end of the 60s. That's a really good thing. So it's a zombie horror film. If you haven't seen that one, that's probably the original and one of the best zombie movies. Definitely worth kind of watching it. I think there's all kinds of subtle political can't say it, you know the word, around race riots and what was going on with civil rights and things like that. But great little movie, low budget classic. So yeah, Night of the Living Dead, that would definitely be one worth checking out. Another one that's probably a little bit more current now, because they've just done a prequel to it, is the wonderful Rosemary's Baby, with Mia Farrow in the New York apartment block, where something untoward is happening with the origins of her baby. So if you haven't watched that one, that's a really eerie film and well worth watching, quite unsettling. But the daddy of 60s horror films, there can be no other than the immortal Psycho. No matter how many times I watch this film, there's still a scene in it, even though I know it's coming, it makes me jump every time. So yeah, so I'm not a film critic. I don't need to go over the importance of Alfred Hitchcock in cinema, but that is a absolutely brilliant film. Another one from the 60s, The Birds, is pretty good as well too. But if there's one classic 60s horror film, that's the one. I think it's the one that spawned 1,000 others. And yeah, so and of course, as this is primarily a music channel, the music in Psycho is absolutely instrumental, isn't it, to the horror of what goes on Bernard Herrmann, is it? I think, if I remember rightly. But brilliant film. If you want one Halloween pick this weekend, that's the one to watch. So I'll leave it there. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.